I bet you're sitting there thinking, wow, that was pretty fast. I just want to point out that they had increased elemental resist and 50% increased health. I did have buffed pistols though, so this build is insane. I just want to point that out because I see all these people that have like 300% increased damage with their modifiers. They sat resetting for 3 hours to be like, best Amara build coming to you live. But sorry for that minor autistic outrage. I just want to point out that I'm sitting here on my birthday recording videos for you guys, editing videos for you guys. So if you could do me a favor and smash that dislike button and tell me to kill myself and fuck off, Claptrap, I'd really appreciate that, guys. And let's hop into this video. Alright, what is up, guys? It's your favorite low functioning YouTuber here, Tickle Me Pink, got another video for my high functioning audience. Let's hop in this. This is gonna be my Amara build. Now, I've seen a lot of bullshit, guys. I don't know if you guys have seen this shit. Every day I open YouTube. Matter of fact, let's open YouTube right now. Type in Amara build. Best Amara build! Amara! Massive elemental damage! The immortal Amara! Best Amara build! I am getting tired of seeing this claim over and over again, okay? Almost all of these guys, I open them, they're running like some, what's the opposite of a Chad or a Kyle? I don't even know. I'd have to think on that one for a while. But anyways, they're running like a tank elemental build or like a melee damage build. I'm going to show you guys the real Chad build, okay? Let's go to Sanctuary. So this build is for people that want to do the most damage in the game. This build might do more damage than any other character in the game. I haven't got to test it, but it does more than my fully built flak. And that's impressive to me. But let's go ahead and respec our points. Alright, I'm going to cross back and forth between actually spending my points and showing you guys some gameplay, just so you can get a feel of how everything works and how all these skills intertwine with each other, because there's a lot of misconceptions about Amara's skills at the moment, and I've seen quite a few guides where they're recommending skills that are actually bugged out and are negatively influencing right now. And we're going to start first and foremost with Infusion. Now, the way Infusion works is on Amara, you have modifiers. So your base modifier is electricity, and if you go down the red tree a little bit, you'll unlock the fire modifier. If you go down the green tree, you'll unlock the caustic modifier. So the way Infusion works is if you have 5 points into it, and I think like a class mod, you can get all the way to like 80% converted elemental damage. Now that sounds really good on paper, doesn't it? So the issue with this is, let's say you're fighting a bandit, he has no shields, he's weak to fire damage. You're going to be using fire on him, and you're anointed, or not anointed, but you have your augment set to fire damage, right? So it's going to convert 80% of your damage to fire. So if you're using a standard doll weapon with no elements on it at all, it'll become a fire elemental weapon. That sounds great, right? That is great. It works great in the early game. Here's the issue. Let's say you're using a fire weapon. For some reason it's bugged out, and you think using a fire weapon, you have that, like, it shouldn't negatively influence you. It's not going to add anything in theory, right? Because you're using a fire weapon. It's going to transfer that damage 80% to fire. For some reason, it's bugged out right now, and you'll be losing like 40 to 60% of your damage. Depending, the more invested you are in it, the more damage you're going to be losing. So that's a big issue. Not to mention, once you get to Mayhem 3, a lot of the time, like in the footage, you'll see me swapping between shock, caustic, and fire weapons continuously. I'm literally using the same 3 weapons in all the clips and swapping between different elements. Doesn't matter, for all my conference calls, all my crossroads, I have all 3 elements just for that. And when you're spec'd into this, you can't swap weapons to deal with enemies' weaknesses. So maybe, I mean, you could swap to a caustic weapon against an armored target, but if 80% of your damage is being converted to fire, it's still not going to be effective against them at all. So don't use Infusion. If you see any YouTubers recommending this, buy them one of those hats that says, please be patient, I have autism. They're just trying to farm subscribers. Okay, so we're going to put 5 points in Anima, okay? And Anima is kind of crazy. It doesn't really look that crazy, you know, 20% status effect damage. That's just a 20% boost. Whenever you apply a dot, just 20% on it. Then you have its duration being doubled. So, in theory, you're probably getting a good chunk of DPS out of this. And your action skill status effect damage goes up. Not really a big deal, but, you know, it's free real estate, okay? Second, we're going to max out Tempest. Tempest just increases all your elemental damage by 30%. That is a big buff. And then shock damage by a further 20%. Now, while we're on this token, if you're going as something like Grove, or Grove, or the Destroyer, anything that's weak to fire, go ahead and change your Anointed to fire. But if you're going to be mobbing, change it to shock. And the reason for that is you get an additional 20% shock damage. So you're going to get more damage on a shock. If you don't want to swap your weapons very often, go ahead and use shock or radiation weapons. That way you're just effective all the time. Shock is weak in certain circumstances, but it'll be getting this extra 20% buff, so it should even out. Radiation is pretty strong in most situations. Now, Dread. It's a pretty good skill. It's only 1 point. You're going to get 15% gun damage after you grab someone. So whenever you're mobbing, and I'll show you why, we're basically going to be stacking all of these. So you got 15% and we have 30% right there. These are all going to stack up. Like, don't sleep on these, okay? Second, a lot of people say don't put points in Wildfire. Well, out of all of these, we're not going for a melee damage build, so this is useless to us. You don't need handling and accuracy, honestly. Maybe in past Borderlands games, some of the weapons are kind of funky to use, but you really don't need this. I mean, if you want to play casually, sure, go ahead. And Infusion, like I said, you're a little brain if you take Infusion. So we're gonna go ahead, max out Wildfire. Now, we're going to take Deep Wells. It's going to give us increased magazine size. If I didn't explain what this ability does, it just has a chance to spread status effects once you applied it to someone else, which sounds alright in itself, but then you have Ricochet over here. So we're going to put 3 points in this. And now we have a 30% chance to Ricochet, and our bolts are going to do half their damage, but that's not so important. It's important that they're going to apply status effects to the people. They're going to, Ricochet is going to bounce, hit fucking Cletus in the head over there. Then Cletus is gonna spread fucking space aids with Wildfire to Clitoris, and we're gonna be killing everything. Catharsis, it's bad. Like, look at the damage. It has a cooldown, and the damage is bad. Never take this, okay? Now, you don't have to take this, but there really isn't anything good to invest points in here, in my opinion. I thought this might be really good just to get all your effects going at once, but the damage on it is way too low. If they buff it and make it reflective of like how much damage you're actually doing, this could be insane. So I just get the extra healing right here. This is a glass cannon build. Like I said, this is a Chad build. You're gonna be doing max damage, and this is gonna be your only sustaining talent. Okay, so you need to learn to work on this. This is very important. So listen up. Amara gains lifesteal whenever she deals elemental damage with her weapon, and it gives you 20% lifesteal of all the damage you do. Okay, guys, that's the only thing you have to stay alive. So you gotta deal damage to stay alive, right? Like I said, this is a Chad build. Okay, then we're gonna get forceful expression. I see a lot of people, they only go down to here on the tree. This is a straight 18% damage buff, and you have all your other elemental modifiers over here. So it ends up being a lot. You don't want to not take this. Alright, the green tree. I see a lot of people, you know, maybe they got the orange tree figured out. Maybe their little thonkers somehow randomly guessed and got the orange tree figured out. Then they go into the green tree, alright? Because they don't want to be Chads, dude. They just want to run around and be unkillable, right? I'm going to show you guys how to do maximum damage, okay? Fuck the green tree, alright? The only thing that's cool in the green tree are these two things right here. These give gun damage. These are Chad stats. And you know as soon as the level cap goes above 50, I'm getting more Chad stats, alright? All this other stuff, like damage reduction, we don't need damage reduction. We need to do more damage because we're going to heal off our damage. Alright, first and foremost, you got, if you have never played in the blue tree, it's all about min-maxing, and you have these things called Rush. You have two things you can choose to unlock Rush at the start. You have Do Harm, and you have Violent Tapestry. Basically, they're super long. Let me explain them, okay? You build a stack for either killing someone or either putting on a stats effect. Do the math, way easier to get it by putting on a stats effect, right? Now, the modifier for killing someone is that the more stacks you get, your action skill damage will do more, your action skill will do more damage. It's really not that big of a deal. Now, your status effect chance will increase how often your status effects go off, so you'll be doing more and more elemental damage. So the no-brainer here is we're going to max out the elemental damage one, right, guys? And then we get our second perk we really need here, the Restless perk. This is going to reduce our action skill cooldown rate. And you might not think that's very important right now, but trust me, it is. That's 25% reduced action skill cooldown rate. I'll show you why. We're going to come back to this in a little bit. Now, then we have Transcend. Amara gains increased accuracy, and critical hit damage for a few seconds after activating her action skill. Okay, guys? That's going to be 27% critical hit damage for 12 seconds after using her spell or whatever, right? So if we look over here, we're going to be lowering our action cooldown rate so we have higher crit chance more often. Now we're going to take this. We don't really care about any of this stuff besides allure radius, guys. That's going to come in clutch. Now, we don't have enough points to get into this next category. We need one more point. You can spend it how you like, but when you're in higher modes, like I said, you're going to be swapping between weapons a lot. You need to swap to a shock weapon to deal shields, swap to a corrosive weapon to deal with armor, swap to a fire weapon to deal with flesh. I'll show you guys gameplay later on. A lot of these enemies have all three of these, so you're going to want the weapon swap speed, and it also comes with reload speed. You can't go wrong with this. Less time reloading, more DPS, okay? We have 7 points left to spend, boys. Now, what are we going to spend that on? We already maxed the orange tree. We're not going to invest in the beta bitch tree. We're going to go ahead and invest in laid bear. Enemies take increased damage from all sources for a few seconds after being damaged by Amara's action skill. Now, keep in mind, we have a lower action skill cooldown. We're going to get increased crit, and we're going to get increased damage by 25%. Now let's look at Wrath here. Amara gains increased gun damage. This effect is increased after she activates her action skill. Oh wow, that sounds a lot like these last two. So all these are stacking. Oh my god, Cal, this is a big brain build. I know, little Thonker. So go ahead and smash that dislike button and tell me to kill myself if this build helped you at all. So we're going to have 40% for 8 seconds on pure gun damage. Then we're going to damage increase 25%. Keep in mind, this all stacks multiplicatively. Like if you've ever played an MMO like World of Warcraft, it's all about blowing all your cooldowns at the same time, right? And that's what this game is about. This is a maximum damage build here. You can go bossing with this. You can go mobbing with this. I'm going to show you how you're going to want to set it up if you're going to want to do either or. So you have 1 point to put it however you want. Feel free to put it anywhere besides the beta bitch tree unless you invest it in this Chad skill. I'll allow that, okay? The way this works, the closer you are, the more damage you do. Most bosses, you can't proc it because you're not close enough to, I mean, you usually get like 2 or 3%, but not enough to get enough value out of it. But what I like to do is I like to invest it in from the rest. Also, another good investment is to invest it in fast hands so you can swap weapons even faster, less downtime, less reloading. I like the increased fire rate and charge speed. We have no charge weapons in this, so just the increased 4% fire rate is what I enjoy here, but you can spend it how you like as long as you don't invest it in this tree. Now, we need our modifiers here, so I'm not going to explain all the modifiers. There's really only one you need to know. So if you're going to go killing mobs, you know, you're going to do Slaughter Shaft, you're going to go do those alien things, I forget what they're called, like trials. The way this works is, so your base skill is Phase Grasp, right? Just like Maya in the last game. By the way, this build is very, very reminiscent of Sandhawk Glass Cannon Maya in Borderlands 2, which was the strongest like raid boss in Borderlands 2. So I always play the Sirens. This build is super, super similar to it. So if you liked her, you're gonna like this. Should have mentioned that earlier, but whatever. Anyways, gotta go back to explaining this. So the modified version is whenever you grasp someone, it's gonna tether all the people around them to them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look for the biggest badass, and not only are we gonna CC him and lock him down, but it's gonna tether all these other little guys to him, and we're just gonna pound him down. Now he's gonna be sharing 35% of all the damage that we're doing to all the people around him. But keep in mind, then we're gonna be ricocheting and igniting all of them and applying all of our stats effects around them, and we're gonna be life stealing off all of them. So whenever we have this up, you're basically unkillable. If you manage to die while you have this up, you just don't have good enough gear yet, guys. I'm sorry to say, this is a glass cannon build. You need to deal a lot of damage so you can heal enough. So if you don't have good gear yet, I'll release a tank guide. Then you can invest in the beta bitch tree, and I won't judge you. But this is what's gonna make it super easy. Now, if you're mobbing, like I said, not everything's gonna be weak to fire, so you might as well keep the base shock modifier, because you get that 20% extra shock damage. So if you need to swap it off and you don't know how to do that, you can't like press E again on this, but you go over here and you press E, or you deselect it if you're on console. Then we're gonna invest in allure. Okay, allure is going to act like a I forget what they call those. It's kind of like a black hole, but they had a name for them in the last game. Oh, it's a singularity. Anyways, it pulls everyone in so they can't escape, and they're all tethered. It's just like an AOE nightmare. Okay, This is great. It's going to lower your action skill damage, but it really doesn't matter. Your action skill isn't carrying you. Now, keep in mind, this is a 18-second cooldown for the modified version of this. So, that's a very low cooldown. We're going to be reducing it even further by this 25% here. We're almost always going to have these increased gun damage effects. So, this is insane. So that's your mobbing build. Now, I'm going to show you some weapons I'd recommend, but first let's talk about bossing. So, when it comes to bossing, you really won't be able to, if you can use this, you're going to want to use the single target version because it's a lower cooldown, but if you can use this, some bosses will allow you to just throw it on like Maya could in the past game and it just does damage, it doesn't like lock them down. It's a lower cooldown, so overall you'll have higher DPS because you're going to be throwing out your action skill more often and having that that proc. But if you can't on like things like the Warden and the Destroyer, you know, come over here to Phase Cast. Phase Cast is the way to go. Just do that. It's your best bet. Look at that. I have a 5-second cooldown on Phase Cast, right? That's nuts. We're almost, you see the buff over here below to left level 50? Look at that. We have it up the entire time. And that's with a, what is this? It's a 28-second cooldown. So all your cooldowns, they stack multiplicatively. Like I have, where's it at here? 12% action skill cooldown rate right here. Let's see, I think I have some more over here as well. I guess. Alright, so I made a little bit of a little thonker play there, and I didn't realize you got lower cooldowns on Sanctuary, so that's my bad, guys. But here's me using it in the open world. And we'll see as it procs, if we get it back in around, looks like 8 seconds, 8 to 9 seconds. And that's with no increased action skill cooldown rate from our modifiers, just so you guys can see. So yeah, that's my bad. Feel free to smash that dislike button and tell me to kill myself. And let's get back into the video. Just get you started. That's all the skill points. Let me know what you guys think of this build. If you want to see what items I recommend, stay tuned. I'm going to show you my mobbing and my bossing build. Let's try and do this really quickly. So I'm set up at the moment for mobbing, or excuse me, for bossing. I like to use the King or Queen's Call, preferably in fire. This one's anointed. If you don't know how it works, every time you shoot it, you hit a crit. It deflects 3 shots, and it also returns 3 bullets to your magazine. And it hits like a truck, so Elemental, Queen's Call, or King's Call, insane. Then I got the Lyuda. I love the Fire Lyuda. Try and get one with a 2x multiplier with the extra barrel, and in fire as well. If you can get an anointed one, even better. This one has a small magazine. I need to upgrade this one. The Butcher, another really good Hyperion. It reloads sometimes off of, I'm not sure if it's off crits or just hitting things. I haven't figured out exactly how it works. This thing is probably one of the best shotguns in the game. You can also use the Conference Call. I just haven't had very good luck farming Conference Calls yet, but it's a great weapon on Amara. I have this weapon just to lower my health because I like to use the Brawler's Ward, which is basically the opposite of the Beast Shield. When you don't have a shield, I'm going to be getting 25% weapon damage, so that's nuts. You also get 30% melee damage, but this isn't our melee damage build. Right now, I have this class mod on. It gives me 25% weapon damage, but the hands down best class mod is the Phase Zerker. So the way it works is those rush stacks we were talking about, it's going to give you 5 more max rush stacks, and based on your rush stacks, you're either going to get 3% weapon damage and 10% action skill cooldown rate. Now, I'm not sure if that's per rush stacks. It doesn't say, so I need to test that out more. If you guys know the answer to that down below, please let me know. I'd love to know. If that's per stack, that is mental. I'm not sure, though. You can get these with various perks. So mine has that skill I told you not to take, and then like health regen. So I've had a few different Phase Zerker ones, but I like the weapon fire rate on this one. That's also really good. You can also use things just like this one's Jacob weapon critical damage and also weapon fire rate, so that would work great with your King's Call. So you can kind of pick and choose with your class mods, but yeah, the Phase Zerker, if you're only going to use one, that's the way to go. I have this just to light myself on fire because I'm fucking emo, but the real reason is this right here. So as you see, you get a damage boost of 183%, but it's only while suffering an elemental effect. So you can light yourself on fire, use fire weapons, and you get that huge bonus. Also for mobbing, if you kill a badass, you trigger Victory Rush, you get 18% movement speed and damage for a minute. So in true Vault Hunter mode in Mayhem 3, that's like all the time. So you basically always have this buff. This is a great relic to use. I think they're still called relics. Let's get into mobbing though. So for mobbing, I like to do something kind of like this. I usually set it up in this where I do shock, caustic, fire, and then I'll have a fourth weapon. I like to use this blue. It doesn't look very good on paper, but it's insane. It hits like 200k sometimes. I don't know what's going on with this gun, but I like to use the Crossroads just for mobbing. It's a great gun, a lot like the Sandhawk. Shoots a ton of shots. So I have one set is shock, one set is caustic, and one set is fire, just so I can get through all the different shields, armor, flesh, all that jazz. But yeah, that's how I tend to build. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. When I go to fight mobs, I like to use the Quasar because it sucks enemies in, and it's just a great grenade to use. It kind of helps you with the whole tether thing. So yeah, guys, I'm sorry this video is way longer than I would have liked it to be, but I feel like all this stuff was pretty pertinent, it being good at Amara. I'll have other guides up if you guys don't have quite enough gear to make this build work. If you need any of the gear I have, I'd love to give you guys gear. I have tons of all this stuff. I've been farming my ass off. I'm a fucking nerd. And yeah, let's see what this guy has to give me here. What does Ruben want? Stinky Ruben. Oh. Okay, well, I just got significantly stronger, you know. Hashtag streamer loot. On that note, if you want to watch me streaming, I stream on YouTube. And this guy is loaded. What the fuck, dude? This makes me feel like a peasant. Huh. Anyways, guys, remember to smash that dislike button. Let me know what you think of the build down below. If you want to play some games with me, or you need items from me, make sure to leave your PC name, Xbox name, or PS4 name in the description down below, and with what items you need. And yeah, on that note, let me know what you think of this build, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a great weekend.